Okay, where are my Russian drive? Where are my Russian viewers? Here comes Dmitry. Running very wide, collecting one of the... Oh, and knocking his wing off. It's always the first guy out, isn't it? Dmitry Semenik, all the way from Russia, tagging the foam barriers on the edge of the track here, ripping off his rear wing at the same time. So we're going to have to get those foam barriers back in. So yeah, full house here today. So you can see there are -3 for a dropping wheel. If it's just a replay. Here he goes, and just a bit too far off. There's a wheel off, 2 wheels off. Okay, here we go. Oh, they're actually playing Slipknot on the as the cars launch. That's pretty cool. Okay, second driver, Fukada in the JCX 100 Mark II. What a nice angle on the entry. Watch the flick back early in the accelerator, hard in the accelerator, flicking it back into the hairpin. Not a bad run there from Fukada. And a score of 94 for Fukada. So you can see there on the left, the sectors. I'll have to explain all that. Next driver, Takahashi Kuniaki. Okay, so those sectors. Let's watch this run, and I'll explain where the sectors start and end. Okay, so here we go. So that's Sector 1 on the entry. Sector 2, Sector 3 through this corner, Sector 4 down this little straight, and then Sector 5 into the hairpin. And each of those sectors are judged slightly differently. I'll go through this a few times today just so you can remember, but Sector 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you get a scores out of 20, 30, 20, 20, and 10. All right, next driver, Takahashi Kenji. Originally driving an FC RX-7, then an FD. Now he's driving the huge Lexus by Mori. Nice flick. Really using the length of this car to his advantage. Wonder what sort of speed he's going to get out of that car. Still great looking run. It looked very impressive compared to a lot of the runs we've seen so far today. Veteran driver score, 96.4. And a speed of 120. That's about right for qualifying. Anything under 120 starts to get a little bit slow. Okay, next driver, Hirajima D-Max S15. Seen this guy in just about every competition that there is in Japan these days. Very aggressive driver, doing really well. Okay, here he comes. Takes this sort of inside line there. Being very conservative, but keeping his speed up. Nice angle into the final hairpin. And a good score there of 97.43, a speed of 121. So, yellow, 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 yellow. Of course, when any of these guys get a yellow score, you see on the scoring run, it does mean that they are close to or almost maximum score. Running a tyre off the track there. I'm pretty sure that's going to get him a penalty. And straightening up into the final hairpin. Might be a bit of a... Looks like some sort of handling issues with the R-Magic RX-7. Plenty of smoke, but that's not going to be a very good scoring run at all. There we see a penalty there of -3 and a 0 in Sector 5, so low score. All right, Ueno Takahiro is back with his Sora. So all the Sora fans out there, he's ditched the BMW that he used to run, and he's back in his signature JZ Sora. Okay, a little bit slow on the transitions maybe, but plenty of smoke through Sector 4, through 3 and 4. Looking good through the second half of the track, but the first half of the track, maybe Sector 1 and Sector 2, it's lacking a bit of angle and speed. But still not a bad score there, 95, but maybe not quite as high as he'd like it to be. Speaking of changing cars, Tokita no longer driving the Crown. He's in the B Racing ZN6 86 this year, powered by a 2JZ engine. Same engine that was in his Crown. Had a lot of trouble getting this car dialed in the past couple of rounds, but that seems to be doing fairly well now. The signature B Racing yellow full Rocket Bunny kit, 2JZ. Okay, a score of 96. So a fairly middle of the road run there from Tokita. All right, speaking of 8.6s with engine swaps, here we go. Next driver, Tadokoro, 3-rotor AE86. So we have a 3-rotor 20B engine. Ooh, a big angle. And it's going to be a correction, and he has to throw away that run. So Tadokoro looking really good. That was good angle coming into Sector 2, but unfortunately threw it a bit too hard. He had to throw away the drift to save it. So good speed. We see there, Sector 3, a 0. Okay, next driver, Tanaka Semi. Also a very strong competition driver here in the S15 Sylvia. Losing the drift there, dropping a wheel off. Of course, it does pay to continue to drift this course. Of course, the DOS system does judge each sector of the course separately. And throwing big angle into the Sector 5 hairpin to try and scavenge some points. Because even if you do get a bad score, it can be possible to get through if a lot of people get bad scores. And we're seeing this course today seems to be quite tricky. It is quite narrow if you do get off the racing line. So even with that run, a score of 96, so you can see it really pays for these guys to struggle their hardest to get the best run they possibly can, even if they do mess up. But that was a run there from one of our seated drivers, Hirota. Okay, so a good score there, 97. Oops, no, wait, sorry. Sorry, that was Hokuto Matsuyama. They have very similar looking cars, the same team. I was wondering why there's a seated driver going out just now. Okay. I love that Slipknot song they're playing. Okay, not a bad run there from Koji Yamaguchi. Seeing a lot of these guys not being able to throw out really flashy runs to try and get a higher score. Score there of 96 for Yamaguchi. So not too bad. Okay, second run now here from Dimitri Semenyuk in the JSX 100. He ran off the course in his first run and ripped the wing off, so he has to throw down a good score here. Nice flick there under the Dunlop Bridge. That's the better line that we're looking for, using all the course edge to edge. Big angle into the Sector 5 hairpin. So that was Dimitri's final chance to get into the top 16 today. And a score of 95. So, yeah, big angle in the final sector, but will it be enough to get into the top 16? All right, second run here from Fukada, JZX 100 Mark II. Got a score of 94.3 on his first run. A little bit shallow on the line. Shallow in his angle. Line not too bad, but will that angle be enough? Of course, the DOS system is looking for a stable angle, a nice stable without wavering around. But of course, the more angle you have, the greater the multiplier on that score. So 94.4, so very, very, very slight improvement over his first run. Takahashi Kuniaki, or Kuni as he's usually known. See, they're heading down the back straight into the hairpin, leading up to the Sector 1 entry. A nice angle going into Sector 3 there. Because the entry into this course from a back straight into a hairpin and then accelerate out of that. So there's not really any chance to, drag race away from the start line here at this circuit. A score of 95.91. So fairly similar scores from a lot of drivers here. We're not seeing a huge range. But we are seeing a few guys get really high scores, though. I guess the narrow nature of the course here at Tsukuba means that even if you just keep it on the track and on the right line, you're going to get a decent score. But it's getting that that 98 or higher score. Of course, it is possible to get full marks with the DOS system. Takayama Kenji using the entire course there, throwing a big angle into the hairpin. Of course, that hairpin there does have a fairly big bank on it, so it's not too hard to throw in with a lot of angle and not spin out. Of course, that's easy to say. Oh, not bad there. Score of 96 for Takayama Kenji. All right, second run now here from Hirajima. S15 Sylvia. Nice entry. Good line. Good flick under the bridge. This looks like a good run so far. Stomping on the clutch to get the revs up. Be slowing down a little bit in Sector 4. But, of course, the most important part here is Sector 2, which is just after the entry, where they flick back under the Dunlop Bridge. That gives almost 1/3 of the entire score. Let's see how Hirajima did. So, yeah, good score there. Oh, yellow on all except for Sector 3, 97.44. Great score there from Hirajima. All right, Miki Ryuji in the R-Magic FD RX-7. Miki Ryuji also a previous champion of D1 Grand Prix back in about 2007, I think it was. We can hear a lot of the guys, kicking the clutch as they enter Sector 4 to keep the revs up. Because, like I said, really narrow there, difficult to keep their speed up, so having to fight the car, fight the power of the grip of the tires. A score of 96 there. All right, second run for Takahiro Ueno in his Sora, his signature Sora. He's decided to retire the BMW and bring back the Sora he's most known for. Okay, nice line there. Good. Flicking the car back. Fairly slow on the rotation, but still looking very impressive. Yeah, the length of this car. But still a good score there of 97 for Ueno. Second run here from Tokuta in his 8.6, 2JZ powered, built by B Racing. Nice angle. Really hard on the accelerator throughout the entire course. Not a bad run there. Nothing too particularly outstanding in one way or the other, but it still should be a good overall score. Right, not a bad score, 96.3. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of these guys around about the 120 kilometre an hour mark. That seems to be the standard for the top speed. So here comes the rotary-powered 3-rotor Toyota A86. I think it actually might be an A85 shell. I'll have to check that. A little bit of a hesitation on the flicks. Oh, it's still doing very well on the first and last parts of the course. 97.75. Good top speed too. All right, next driver, Semi Tanaka. One of those guys who does well in competition. Not always that great in solo runs. Nice, look how aggressive that flick was there in Sector 2. Holding it flat, maintaining his speed throughout the rest of the track. Of course, the DOS system is looking for a big flick in Sector 3. So there we go, a score of 97.9. I take back what I said about him not doing that well in qualifying. That's a good score there, but only a score of 19 out of 30 for Sector 2. So the angle you're looking at on this is pretty much exactly what the judges can see. Also, good score there, 97.26 for Hokuto Matsuyama. Right, second run here from Koji Yamaguchi. Of course, all these guys do only get 2 qualifying runs and the best 1 run. Really, really wide there from Koji Yamaguchi. Once again, nice angle. I think we're seeing as the guys get used to this track, they're getting used to flicking in really hard into Sector 5. A lot of them are getting almost full scores, even when they don't get good scores on other parts of the track. So let's see what the score is there for Yamaguchi. A score of 96.9. See, there we go. Sort of okay on the rest of the track, and yeah, Sector 5 almost backing it in. But of course, the middle of the track is the most important. Sector 1, 2, and 3 makes up for about 70% of the entire score. We have our first run here from Pon. It was, yeah, interesting line he decided to take on that entry. But despite that, yeah, still a good score. So good entry and, yeah, score of 96.96 by Pon. Okay, first run from Tomohiro Murayama. S14 Silver. He's been campaigning in S14 Silver and D1 for as long as I can remember. A little bit of a wobble on the flick back. Of course, this car also SR20 powered. A little bit of a wobble on his transitions there, so not as aggressive and smooth as maybe he could be. Also suffering only in Sector 3, which is where we had a little bit of a wobble. 97.76. All right, next driver, Teruyoshi Iwai. Any Roadster fans out there, slash Miata, slash MX-5? He's your guy, but this car actually has a 13B engine, a rotary-powered Roadster. Not too bad. Really fast, though. Good speed. Yeah, even though it is a fairly small car, it still had a lot of presence on the track just now. Well, a score of 99.39. What was it? Was it the speed that bumped him up? That was... I definitely want to go back and watch that run again. See how he managed to do that, because that was Pretty good effort there from EY. Okay, we have a bit of trouble here from Hibino in the Supra. Because like I said before, it still does score after the first sectors. Even if you do mess up on Sector 1 and 2, if you can drift Sector 3, 4, and 5, you're still going to get points. Yeah, so that's going to drop him down. So a score of 92 is as good as nothing. All right, we're down to our seeded drivers now. First seeded of the 8 drivers. Shinji Minoa. In this competition, driving the Z33 Fair Lady. Z34 Fair Lady, sorry. That's a good-looking run so far. Laying power down for a lot of the track. Not really backing off the accelerator a whole lot. Pushing out about 900 horsepower from a 2JZ engine. Watch the flick here. I like the camera work on that too. It makes it look really aggressive. All right, good run here from Tomokazu Hirota. All right, here comes our 6th ranked driver so far in this year's competition, Masashi Yokoi, S15 Sylvia. Yokoi also another great tandem driver. Let's see how he does in the solo run. Overall, pretty aggressive so far. Good line, good angle, good speed. Filling the entire circuit with smoke. Not a bad score there, 96.54. Okay, here comes our next driver, Teramachi. Also, and a very aggressive driver. He's been doing a lot of competitions this year. Okay, here he comes in his first run. 6-seated qualifier. Look at that flicker as he comes around the into Sector 2, into Sector 3, holding it flat all the way down the straight, flicking it hard at the hairpin over the finish line. So currently 23rd, 23 points in 5th place so far. The 5th, 6th, and 7th place guys are all have a score of 23 points. So pretty close in the... All right, next driver, Kazuya Bai in the 180SX. This one also powered by an SR20 engine with a VE head. Pushing out around about 700 horsepower, I think, or 650. Bai, also a very experienced driver. Look at the angle on this car. Oh, running really wide there, hitting the barriers. Kazuya Bai, course out. We could just hear him. There. What happened there? Bai has a very sort of OG street style of driving. You could hear him blipping the throttle. I get the feeling that may have caused him to lose a bit of grip in the rear and run a bit too wide. just guessing. Of course, see their score of 81.45 with the -3 for dropping up to 3 wheels off the track. So let's watch this again on the replay. So he has good angle there, good angle there. Now watch this part. Maybe a little bit too much speed. Because Bai is a very fast driver, but luckily those barriers are not really that, as you can basically see, they're big foam blocks. They're not too hard to hit. All right, next driver. Third place seated with a score of 33 points, Hideyuki Fujino. 180SX, very, very vanilla build, this car. Nothing too crazy, no tube frames. Very standard sort of car, but he's got the setup absolutely perfect on it. Look at the angle coming out of Sector 3. Plenty of speed, plenty of angle. He's got that car under complete control. Great run there from Fujino. Will the DOS system agree? All right, next car. Everyone knows this. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fans of this car out there. Kawabata in the GTR. Trust Toyo Tires GTR. Look at this absolute monster of a machine. Huge power, huge grip. So fast through Sector 3. Almost losing complete sight of him going into the Sector 4 hairpin and Sector 5. And a score of 99.15. That's our highest, and a speed of 130 kilometers an hour. Almost full marks on every single sector. Yep, we could tell. Almost a full 100. It is actually possible to get over 100 points. And Daigo there being slightly uncharacteristically happy and chatty. But you would be too if he was sitting in a point ranking of 60, which is double, almost double a lot of the other guys. Okay, new car for Daigo Saito. Look at the angle, look at the speed. Very similar to the run we just saw just before with Kawabata. The gap between these guys and the other guys is a bit too high, I think. Look how fast he was going through there. That was really good. And we have 100. There you go. I said it before. It can go over 100. There it is. 100.23. 100.23 for Daigo Saito. Wow, that's a great run there from Daigo Saito. Almost 130 kilometers an hour, top speed through Sector 3 as well. So even though that was a new car for Daigo, score of 100.23. Okay, we're back to the beginning of qualifying again. Run 2 for all these drivers. Okay, so we have Pon in the Z. It's easy to say. All right, nice angle, good flick. A little bit shallow going into Sector 3 there from Pon. Still though, keeping his speed up. It should be a good score, but it might not be good enough. Yeah, so they have a score of 95.6 for Pon. So, that might be the end for him. All right, second run here for Tomohiro Murayama in his S14 Sylvia. Tomohiro probably will do fairly well at the next round at the ABC Circuit, but let's see how he does here today. It's his last chance to get through to the top 16 battles. Nice flick into Sector 3, revving that SR20 engine all the way out. A bit of a stall there through Sector 4. We saw him stall up. That's probably going to be the nail in the coffin for him. So, yeah, doing really well until that... oh, no, it was still all right, 97.78. So, obviously, it wasn't that bad of a miss. All right, second run for Iwai. He got a really good score on his first run. So, he's probably already guaranteed a spot in the top 16. We'll see how he does on this second qualifying run. Right, he's thrown away his run. He's just driving through the sector. It would be a big shame if there was something actually wrong with his car, because he does have a high qualifying score. He was basically until Daigo and Kawabata came along, he was top ranked. So I believe he's still probably holding about 4th place in the top 16 rankings. But just driving through that run, hopefully there's nothing wrong with his car. And a score of 0 on every part of the track. All right, next driver, Hibino Tetsuya. In the Supra, he had a bit of a miss on his first run. Here he comes. Nice, good stout entry, good flick into the next sector. Definitely taking the kind of line that allows him to keep his speed up. Well, almost backs it into the hairpin. He's probably going to get max points there for Sector 5 through the final hairpin, but of course that's not the most important part of the track. Probably going to get a good score for speed, but let's see what he has for angle. Obviously, it paid off for him. A score of 98.98. And a really good top speed, 130 for Hibino. All right, next driver, Shinji Minoa, out on his second run this time. Usually seen driving his own private JZX90. This time in the Team Boss Z34. Fair lady. I'll get it right eventually. Here he comes. Nice flick through Sector 3. Sort of a bit on and off the accelerator, maybe not getting as much speed as he can. Shinji Minoa currently the bottom of the seed ranking in 8th place. Yeah, and dropping off a lot there. A score of 95 for Shinji. All right, second run here for Hirota. Backing the car all the way to the edge of the track, using the entire outer line. Flicking back into the hairpin. Not a bad run there. Good angle. That was some really good-looking angle there from Hirota. On a score of 96, so maybe that'll allow him to squeak through I would tell you the rankings, but I would tell you what the rankings are live, but the monitor which has all that is like directly behind my head. I have to turn all the way around to look at it, and I can't really do that right now. So never mind, we'll get to that. Next driver, Yokoi. All the way to the edge of the track. Once again, using every part of the real estate he can. These guys are getting faster and faster as we're moving up the qualifying ladder. Especially when you've got to these seated guys. Like the average speed of these guys is way higher than all the other ones. It's really obvious. So a score of 97 there for Yokoi. So I'd say he's probably through. It's funny, the picture there for Teramachi, he's got black hair, but in the guide for today's event, he's got blonde hair. Never mind that, because the car still looks the same. Teramachi's S15 Silvia. Whoa, throwing it really hard there, losing a bit of drift, slowing down. He had to slow down a lot there through Sector 4. He might get a decent score in Sector 3, but Sector 4, it's definitely going to suffer, I'm sure of that. Yeah, and so Sector 2 doing really well, but as he went to Sector 3, well, still not too bad, but not as good as it could have been. Good speed there, though. All right, second run here for Bai Kazuya. All right, plenty of speed coming in. He's got to flick it back really hard, get the hammer down, accelerate through Sector 3 into Sector 4, flick it back. Okay, that's an improvement over his first run where he managed to tag the barriers, but not a great score, 95.84. I think that might be the end of the day for Kazuya Bai and his 180SX. All right, second run here for Hideyuki Fujino. 180SX. Very clean build. Good speed there. Maybe not as clean a line as his first run. I'm not sure if that'll be an improvement over his first run or not. I don't think it will. But still a good overall score, 97.4. All right, last year's champion. This year, currently second place in the point rankings. Masato Kawabata, R35 GTR, Toyo Tires Trust Rating Monster Machine. 1,000 horsepower. Here he comes. Already with huge angle on the entry. Big flick back. Did he drop a tire off on the inside there on the first corner in Sector 1? We'll see what the sub-judge has to say. I think it should be okay. He wasn't all the way under the grass. He was still on the tarmac. Maybe the wheel was just over the white line. No, that's okay by the sub-judge. So a score of 98.79 there. With a speed of 136 kilometers an hour. That's the 0.4. That's the highest speed we've seen so far today. All right, so that's the end of the qualifying. I believe that because Daigo already has the first place, he's not going to run his second run. I believe he's just going to buy that, which is fair enough. All right, so here we go, the first battle. So keep that in mind. Each of these guys only has one pair of tyres to win their battle with. So no unlimited tyres here, but didn't seem. Everyone thought that'd be a problem for Daigo Saito when the season began back at Adai, but it didn't seem to affect him in the slightest speed. Okay, here we go. Daigo Saito way ahead of Teramachi, using all of his horsepower just to pull away. Okay, well, Daigo's car is fast. Yeah, a bit of a difference in speed there. Maybe Teramachi miscalculated how fast Daigo Saito would actually go in his entry. Of course, we've seen speeds this morning in the second zone going from 110 all the way up to 130 kilometers an hour. So a bit of a difference in speed. I think, as we saw there before, Daigo Saito's car is fairly fast, so this should make for an interesting battle now. We see them head down to the hairpin, which is just before the run up to the first corner. Daigo Saito right on the tail of Teramachi. Okay, here they come towards the first corner. Entry, Daigo Saito right on the tail of Teramachi. Flick back towards the judging stand. Nice shot there from the drone. Teramachi running really wide, running into the barriers. There's a wing sitting on the track there. I think it's probably Teramachi's wing got ripped off by the foam barriers. So let's watch this again. So watch him flick it back here. Doing really well, almost pulling away from Daigo Saito, but a bit too much speed, and you can see there he just tags the foam block on the edge of the track. Daigo Saito doing a good job to escape from Teramachi's crash with what looks like no contact, but so there we have the score, an 8 for Daigo Saito and a 5 for Teramachi. So the winner, Daigo Saito, moving on to the best 8. All right, here we go. Second battle in the top 16 here, round 3, D1 Grand Prix at Tsukuba Circuit. We have Tadokoro in the lead car, 3-rotor engine out of a Cosmo, 3-rotor rotary engine, followed by Hirajima. Right, both cars a lot of speed. Great line from both these guys. A bit shallow there from Hirajima in the follow. Hirajima tucks in around the final corner. So look at the angle and speed of the lead car, Tadokoro, the 8.6. Quite good emulation in the timing there by the following car, the Silvia with Hirajima. But watch this line here, and the angle is a little bit shallow. The timing of the switch is quite good from Hirajima, matching the switch of Tadokoro, but it might not be enough. And yeah, there we go. It's just lacking a bit there. Hirajima, 6.5. Tadokoro, the lead car, the rotary-powered 8.6 with a 7. And Tadokoro tucked right up against his bumper there. Right, here they come, second time. Hitojima, fair way ahead. Tadokoro trying to catch up with him. Almost a copy of the previous battle. Oh, Tadokoro really lacking in speed there. I wonder what happened to Tadokoro. His speed was really, really lacking through the second half of the course. Let's watch this again. Sort of line a little bit shallow there from the following car, Tadokoro. Here we go, look. He should be about 3 car lengths ahead when he's transitioning like that, but he's a long way back. He's trying to match the flick of the lead car, but pulling up really short there. That's not going to be a very good score for him. But that's still a win for Tadokoro, who'll be moving on to go up against Daigo Saito. Okay, here comes our next battle. Hibino in the Supra versus Pon from Thailand in the Fair Lady. Okay, Hibino leading. Big, powerful Supra. We should see some good line and angle from him. The aggressive flick there from Hibino. Using every inch of the track at full speed. Losing Pon behind him in the smoke. Of course, we don't need to worry about that because the smoke will not affect the DOS judging system. Look at that. See, Pon again dropping a wheel off the front, the inside clip there, trying to shallow his line out to keep up with Hibino. But still a good run. Of course, they were both going extremely fast in that run. An even score of 8-all. That's fairly high for both these guys. Score of 8-all. Hibino versus Pon. All right, here we go. Second run between Hibino and Pon. This time, Pon will be leading, Hibino following now. This is where Hibino's going to do his job. Following, look how close, but he's already right up on his bumper. Hibino's car, slight power advantage over Pon. He should be right on him as soon as we see him come around this corner. Okay, here they come. Hibino right up against Pon, tucking up around the main corner. Watch them switch back at the same time. Hibino again, tuck in around the final hairpin. Right up against Pon's door. This is the closest battle we've seen so far. So Hibino a little bit shallow on the angle on the entry. But they're still keeping good line. They're flicking back. Now watch him. From now on, he basically mirrors Pon's moves. Now watch the flick back. Just there. A perfect mirror image, and then tucks in as they go around the final corner. Oh, and a very, very slight win there for Tetsuya Hibino in the Supra. Great job there from Pon, doing a really well up against Hibino's car. Most recently driving a BMW powered by 2JZ, but he's back in the Sora, which makes a lot of old school drift fans pretty happy. Okay, this should be an interesting battle. We have Fujino, absolute surge, and the car is set up perfectly. Ueno, super old school driver, big ostentatious sports tourer. We'll Well, Fujino putting on his hazard lights. Oh, we have smoke coming out the back of Fujino's car. Whoop, that looks like a fire. Something caught on fire. Let's see if we can see something happen here. So watch Fujino's car. All of a sudden loses power. Looks like the engine might have blown. That's not smoke coming out of the exhaust. That's smoke coming out of the engine bay itself. So, yeah, -2 for Fujino. So I didn't even know you can get a minus score with the DOS system, but there we go, just proved it. So, unfortunately, Fujino isn't going to make the start line, so Ueno is just going to do his solo run to finish off this battle. And a great solo run. At Odaiba. Now we have some people watching from Russia. Okay, into the second half of our top 16 battles here. Iwai in the underdog rotary-powered Roadster versus Miki Ryuji in the R-Magic RX-7. Okay, great angle from the lead car, Iwai. Absolutely killing in that lead position. Look at the angle he's getting in that little car. Miki barely able to keep up. And over the finish line. Wow, great lead run there. Iwai is on fire this weekend so far. Qualifying in second place position. Also this battle between the highly developed R-Magic car. That's seen a lot of series of D1 Grand Prix. And also Miki Ryuji, a former D1 Grand Prix championship winner. Of course, Iwai himself, by no means a rookie. Iwai has been drifting for a very long time. He used to compete in old competitions. So a 9 all. Both cars getting a 9 out of 10. Of course, like I said before, the scores aren't split anymore in D1 Grand Prix. They have a score. They both score both cars out of 10. So this time, Miki Ryuji, the car in the outside lane, usually leads. So Iwai following. I'm sure Iwai will be using the lightness of his car and his acceleration to keep up with Miki Ryuji as he accelerates towards the first corner. Here to come towards the first corner of the course. All right, Iwai right up against Miki's door. Watch him switch back here. Again, Iwai not being shaken off. Iwai a little bit shallow in his angle there, but watch the flick back. Iwai a little bit shallow in his angle, but right up against the door of Miki Ryuji. Is that going to be enough to get him the win? Well, what happened there? Then we need to confirm. It looks like Iwai has spun out. But we need to confirm if he spun out before or after the finish line. Look how close he is here to Miki. That's on a track as quick as this one. Now watch him tuck in here up against Miki's door. These guys are both going really fast at this point. So watch the following car. Watch the Roadster. It looks like that Iwai may have come into contact with the rear of Miki's car and spun out. It's a bit hard to tell from this camera angle, though. No, it is actually the opposite of that. We have a... That's the guy I was talking about there. See how high up he is? He should have been able to see that. So there we go. We do have it, a result that Mickey was in fault of that contact. So giving Iwaya the win. All right, here comes our next battle now. Got a very, very late handbrake entry there from Murayama. He has a lot of speed, but not a lot of angle. So what you can see, very late to angle there from the lead car, Murayama. All right, here comes that second battle between Murayama and Yokoi. This time Yokoi will be leading. Murayama will be following. Now Murayama with a slight disadvantage. He went into that battle lacking a whole lot of angle. He had the speed, he didn't have the angle. All right, here they come into the first corner. Yokoi, very fast driver, but... Murayama messing up his entry, understeering on the entry. Getting it back to angle, though, trying to keep up with Yokoi. Once again, lacking the kind of angle. I think maybe his car is not set up right for this particular track. So watch this, watch the entry. Look at the understeer just there. Big understeer from Murayama. Luckily not crashing into Yokoi. Yokoi continuing on his run. I get the feeling this run is going to be in favor of Yokoi. Yokoi there not lacking in angle at all. Murayama slightly shallow compared to him. Also his line here, Murayama, the following S14 Sylvia. Trying to dive in and catch up at the last moment. But it might be a little bit too little too late for Murayama. So we have the results here. Yokoi with a 0.5 advantage on both battles, giving him a 15-14. So the winner moving on to the Great 8 is Yokoi. Here at Tsukuba Circuit, round 3 of D1 Grand Prix. All right, here we go. This next battle. Kawabata in the Monster GTR versus Yamaguchi. A comparatively lower spec S14 Sylvia, but you never know. We've seen quite a few David and Goliath battles being won by David here so far today. Maybe this time that won't happen. Kawabata pulling ahead from Yamaguchi. Well, we have Yamaguchi spitting out there in the last corner as well. So still good angle, good line there from Yamaguchi, but just not as close as he needs to be. Kawabata slowly pulling away. Flicking back towards the hairpin. Now watch the following car. Watch the Sylvia as we go around the final hairpin. We see him just... there he is, losing the drift. And that looks like it's before the finish line too. So there we have the score in favor of Kawabata there, an 8-5. It's a fairly big gap. Well, this time Yamaguchi in the S14 Silver will be leading with a fairly big disadvantage going into the lead run. I don't know how much he'll be able to do here, apart from just drive as best he can and hope that Kawabata messes up somehow. But Kawabata right up against his bumper. Kawabata falling a little bit behind here. But I think it may be enough. I'm not sure if that's a 3-point deficit. Probably a bit less than that. So what's this entry again? Kawabata matching his angle, matching his speed. They flick back. Again, similar angle, similar speed too. Yamaguchi there, sort of a little bit better angle, kicking the rear of the car around. So watch here again. So not matching Yamaguchi's timing, but still, yeah, it was enough. It was enough to win that battle. So the winner, moving on to the Great 8, is Kawabata in the GTR. But we have our next battle so far. We have our next battle to go before that happens. Right, next battle starting now. Hokuto Matsuyama versus Semi Tanaka. Semi Tanaka leading in the D-Max S15. It's not a really great following run there from Hokuto Matsuyama. Matsuyama's follow run just not really that aggressive. Just sort of staying there and keeping up with Semi Tanaka, not really attacking him. So it's keeping a fairly consistent angle, consistent distance all the way through, not really catching up. So it still could be a fairly even score though, but I don't know if the distance might be a bit too far. Considering the speed of this track, even if they aren't door to door, it's still they're still fairly close. Even if they're so, there we go, an even score. Matsuyama's follow run, it wasn't very aggressive, but still, he still managed to keep up with Tanaka pretty much the whole way through the track. So we have an even score, an 8-all in favor of nobody. All right, here we go. This time Matsuyama leading, Tanaka following. Right here they come to the first corner. Oh, almost a carbon copy of the previous run. Very similar. Both cars, a lot of speed. Riding through the course like a roller coaster. Semi Tanaka right up against his door over the finish line. Get the feeling that this kind of track is more suited to Matsuyama's style, being a racing driver. He prefers sort of flowing, fast corners, but Semi Tanaka, a guy used to small, tight, technical tracks with always doing 10. And watch this. This is where that comes into play. Look how close he is to Matsuyama. Watch as they come around the final corner. Right up against him. Right in Matsuyama's field of vision, too. So we have a completely even score. All right, so moving on to the Great 8, we have our first battle. Daigo Saito, #1 points qualified today, versus Tadakoro in the 20B powered rotary And once again, Daigo Saito. What is he doing to this car? The massive amounts of grip and speed, like he's not sacrificing angle in the slightest bit. Good angle there from Daigo Saito, good speed, good line. There's not really much to fault him on that run. The only fault is that you could give here is that Tadokoro is just way behind and barely not even chasing. That you couldn't really even consider that a chase run almost. To his credit, though, he did complete the run as he should. Not shallowing up, not trying to catch up with Daigo simply by driving at him. So that we do. So he's on his second set of tyres now. Each driver only gets one pair of tyres for each particular bracket of the battle tree. So here we go. Tadokoro leading this time. Daigo Saito following Daigo Saito's car. A bit of a speed advantage. Tadokoro still a very fast, maneuverable car. We'll see how he does. So Daigo Saito chasing behind Tadokoro. It's a really good chase run there from Daigo Saito following Tadokoro. Same angle, same speed, same line. I get the feeling that Daigo Saito is going to take this run away from Tadokoro. Let's have a look at it again. Tadokoro just running his tyre along the inside there to try and keep his speed up. But Daigo, you can see Daigo get on the power there really early. Some of these guys aren't really getting on the power until after the road straightens up. But Daigo right on the power really early. Okay, so we have a result here. A score of 16 to 14.5 in favor of Daigo Saito. So the winner, moving on to the semi-final, is Daigo Saito against Hibino. All right, here we go. Second battle of the best eight. Two guys who are both big veterans of the sport. Look how close they are. Look how close they are. Forget what I said about big, heavy, unwieldy. Look at Ueno go in the Sora. Filling the entire arena with smoke. That is probably the best run we've seen all day so far there from Ueno. Look at the angle he's got. Going right up against Hibino's door. Whoa, looks almost like he's going to impact against him. Hibino flicks around, the smoke clears. Look, here he is. Ueno's right there. Right up on his bumper. Ueno probably can't see a single thing right now. Ueno judging that extremely well. Of course, taking nothing away from Hibino's lead run, that was fantastic too. So a very slight advantage there for Ueno on the right-hand side there. 7.5 in favour over 7 from Hibino. So a good run from both of them. All right, here we go, the second run. Both these guys, like I said before, veterans of drifting, been involved since day one. Here we go, this time Ueno in the Sora leading, Hibino in the Supra following. They're coming accelerating towards the first corner. Great angle there from Ueno. Whoa, Hibino running a little bit wide. Dropping a couple of wheels off the track. Well, Hibino struggling to sort of tuck his car in there. Lost him in the smoke just now. And finishing the track with Hibino right up against Ueno's door. Let's watch this again. Great angle there. Now watch the following car. Watch Hibino when they switch back. Ueno's line. Whoa, that's about 3 wheels off the track there. Now remember, in qualifying and battles, they do look at different things. It's not exactly the same rules. So Hibino's line there may not result in a penalty. And it didn't. Wow, Hibino. Wow. All right, here we go with our next battle. Now, this is going to be a corker. Iwai versus Yokoi. This time, Iwai in the rotary roadster leading. Here they come. Well, huge angle from Yokoi. Huge angle. Iwai's line. Iwai messing up. Yokoi, huge angle. Almost pushing him off the track. Wow, talk about intimidation there from Yokoi. Let's watch this again. Look at the angle Yokoi comes in with. He's like, here I am, look at me. The little roadster almost seems to shrink in size even more as Yokoi leers over him like a bear. Here I am, look at me, I'm drifting. Wow. That's some confident driving there, and Iwai just throws in the towel and he's like, nope, forget it. But that's and looked in 100% control the whole time. So we have there a negative score for Iwai. I would say that there's pretty much zero chance of Iwai winning this battle. All right, here they go. This time, Yokoi in the S15 Silver will be leading. Iwai in the rotary-powered Unos Roadster will be following. All right, here they come towards the start line. Of course, Iwai's car not lacking in power-to-weight ratio. But Yokoi, look at Yokoi's lead run, the angle and speed he has. Iwai throwing it away. So that makes it official. Yokoi will be moving on to the top four. And you know what that means? That means that Daigo Saito will be going up against Yokoi in the next battle. So a great effort today so far from Iwai, managing to get second place in qualifying. Great job from him. Getting through his first battle. All right, here we go with our next battle between Kawabata and Matsuyama. Oh, that monster GTR just powering ahead. Matsuyama losing his drift on the entry. Once again, straightening out. Maybe a bit of car problems there for Matsuyama, or just maybe losing the drift and not being able to reinitiate. I sort of get the feeling today that a lot of these guys have not got their cars quite set up in a way that they like. I just get that feeling. It's Matsuyama there in the JZX 100 Chaser. So there's a score of 8 in favor of Kawabata, 8-3. So as we can see, it's getting towards the pointy end of the field, and we're seeing more of these sorts of battles now where you have absolute domination from one of the drivers. And has decided to step out, which means Kawabata will be moving on to the best four. Of course, we have to have Kawabata do his solo run just now, just to complete the battle bracket, make it official. Of course, the car... All right, here we go, the battle. Top four here at Tsukuba Circuit, D1 Grand Prix. Daigo Saito once again. This car is absolutely set up perfectly for this track. The amount of grip and power he has, throwing it into the first corner and holding it all the way through. But to Hibino's credit, taking a good line, keeping good angle. He's not as close as you might like to Daigo Saito, but he's probably playing the smart game here. He knows that if he shallows up his line or sacrifices any sort of drifting to keep up with Daigo, he knows that the DOS is going to... See, there we go. He's playing it right. He knows how to get the right score. We have an even 9-all for both these guys. Now, this is a good thing. You might be thinking, well, Daigo's so far ahead. Why is Hibino getting such a high score? Well, I mean, this is exactly to prevent that sort of thing from happening. We don't want people to be drag racing away and getting an advantage. All right, here we go. This is going to be a good battle. Hibino versus Daigo. This time Hibino will be leading, Saito following. So Hibino leading in the Supra, Saito following in the Chaser. Right, here they go. Here they come towards the first corner. Here they enter. A big angle from Hibino. But Saito right up against it. Look at the angle. Look at the flick. Look at the flick from Hibino. Saito Daigo almost struggling to keep up with him. That flick there from Hibino. Look at the flick. Watch the replay here. Now watch as he comes under the Dunlop Bridge. Watch the flick here. The rate of angle. Will that be enough, though? Will that be enough? We saw in the previous battle that even though Hibino was a fair way behind, he's still got an even score. Daigo a lot closer this time, but I think... Oh, so we have another even score. All right, here we go. This time, once again, Daigo Saito will be leading on this run. Hibino following now. Hibino, will he follow his previous technique of staying back away from Daigo but matching his speed, line, and angle? Or will he get aggressive on this run? Here they come the entry. It looks like a similar run to the original, but this time Hibino a bit shallow in his angle. Daigo driving even faster than before. I think Hibino slightly misjudging the course again that time. His angle and line was not quite as good as his first run. Watch here, so he's lacking a lot of angle going around the first corner. Not bad here, but watch the following Supra as he comes around. Shallows up a bit and flicks back very early compared to Daigo. Has to go a little bit wide there, and watch him pulling the handbrake to try and make it around the hairpin corner. So a little bit of a miss there from, so there we go, Daigo Saito. An 8 in favor of Hibino at a 7.5. So Daigo Saito with a 0.5 advantage going into the next battle. I had a feeling he'd go that way. Hibino, we'll see what happens. All right, here they go. This time, Hibino leading, Daigo Saito following. Daigo Saito a 0.5 advantage over Hibino, so Hibino just has to drive as best he can. All right, here they go into the first corner. Okay, here comes Hibino. Big angle from both guys, even bigger angle from Daigo Saito. Watch the switch back. Well, a bit of a straighten there from Hibino. I think it's all over by now for Hibino. Daigo Saito just dominating that battle. Let's watch this again. Look at the angle. Look how heavy Daigo is on the accelerator. You can see a lot of smoke pouring off the back there. Now watch this slight understeer there from Hibino. The car straightens up a bit. Daigo Saito not phased by that. He just manages to adjust his line and keep up. Now watch as they flick back. Great sort of textbook photo of drifting right there, that shot. So I think this may be all over for Hibino. Gonna wait and see what the DOS system has to say, but I'll be putting my money on Daigo Saito. And here's the score, 17.5 for Daigo Saito over 14.5 for Hibino. So great fight there from Hibino, but unfortunately, Daigo Saito moving on to the final. I saw someone just wrote in the comments, isn't it just water dripping from the air conditioning? And with this weather today, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, here we go. Next battle, Kawabata versus Yokoi. Yokoi leading. Look at the angle of the big flick there. Oh, Kawabata running really wide, having to correct. Kawabata losing his drift. Whoa, big understeer there from Kawabata. Let's watch this again. Kawabata. Okay, great lead run there from Yokoi. Now watch the following car. He has to get on the brakes really heavy there. It kind of unsettles the car and starts to run wide here. You can see Kawabata off the accelerator trying to correct the car so it doesn't run into the wall late. So rolls onto the accelerator, pulls the car away from the crash barrier and continues the run. Now, this is something that sort of happened before up in a battle where Kawabata was up against Daigo Saito. He had to hit the brakes really late, which caused the front of the car to sort of bind up and caused him to spin out. And that almost happened here too. It looks like that that might be a little weak point of this car, this GTR that Kawabata is driving. It's a little bit weak under braking at angle. Normally you can get issues, but I don't know. It seems that Kawabata's car is okay. All right, here we go. This time, Kawabata, already with a points deficit, will be leading this run. Now, we've seen Yokoi in his previous battles. Even when he doesn't need to go all out, he still does. So here we go. Here they come towards the first corner. Yokoi, a fairway behind. Kawabata pulling ahead. Nice, big angle there from Kawabata. Yokoi being left behind a fairway, but is this a tactic from Yokoi? So obviously no problem there with Kawabata's car. So good line, good angle, good speed. But Yokoi, look how far the cameraman has to zoom out there. Yokoi a long way back. Is that too far back? Is that too far back? Could that be more than a 0.5 in favor of Kawabata? No, we do have a result. Yokoi, it's only a 0.5 disadvantage, so Yokoi just barely scraping through. Whoa, that mistake really cost Kawabata in that first one. We can see there a 7-8. So that big understeer there cost him an entire point. All right, here we go with the third place battle. Replays of the... Oh, sorry about that. It caught me off guard there. They didn't cut the video early enough. Look at the angle there from Hibino. He's at absolutely max lock, but Kawabata still right up against him. Look at the understeer there from Kawabata. Whoa, he managed to control that really well. I called it, didn't I? I called it. I said, Hibino's just going to enjoy this run, and he surely did. That was definitely the most impressive run we've seen all day. So we have a score there. Well, an 8 for Hibino, but yeah, that proximity from Kawabata, giving him a perfect 10. So we can see there that proximity does give a good result. That was still a very good run for Hibino, but a perfect 10 for Kawabata. I think that's the first 10 we've seen so far here. All right, here comes the second battle. Perfect 10 on the first run there from Kawabata. This time Hibino with an 8. Kawabata leading this time. Hibino. This is going to be interesting. Hibino leading. Hibino following. Kawabata leading. Hibino, huge angle on the first run. Let's see what he does here. Here they come. Hibino falling behind. Kawabata leading. Using every single one of that 1,000 horsepower in that car. I get the feeling that is definitely not going to be enough for Hibino. Kawabata doing what he can to scrape in points for the championship. And I think that was a pretty obvious result there. So the winner is Kawabata, who'll be getting the third place. Absolutely nothing wrong with that run there. Okay, here we go again. Here we go for real this time. The final battle here. 2016 D1 Grand Prix Series Round 3 at Tsukuba Circuit between Daigo Saito and Masashi Yokoi. Here we go. They head around the final hairpin towards the first corner. Daigo Saito leading, Masashi Yokoi following. Daigo Saito way out ahead. Masashi Yokoi struggling to keep up. Look at the line Daigo's taking. Almost seems impossible to take that line with the amount of speed he has. How did he finish the track so fast? Look at the speed he had. Just riding that inside clip there. Flicking it back. Although we have seen these kinds of runs before, and charging ahead doesn't really seem to benefit the lead driver quite as much as you might think. Yokoi keeping a good distance there. So that we have an even score, like I said. Yokoi played it right. He kept his right speed, right line, right angle at a fairly even distance behind Daigo Saito. And giving him a score of 9 up against Daigo Saito's 9. So they will swap around. This time Masashi Yokoi will be leading. Daigo Saito will follow. Right, here they go, heading down towards the final hairpin. Daigo Saito following, Masashi Yokoi leading. Daigo tucking right up against... Whoa, we have a problem. We have a problem there. We have contact, do we? It looked like Daigo Saito got a bit too close to Masashi Yokoi. And Yokoi completes the run, not being aware of what happened just now. All right, so we are doing a restart of that battle. I think it was determined that Yokoi turned in across Daigo Saito where he shouldn't have, which means we have to run this again. So here we go. This is the same shot. Let's watch the line they take this time. Okay, Yokoi leading, Daigo Saito following. Final battle. Yokoi, big angle from Yokoi. Daigo Saito tucked in right behind him. Both cars pouring out clouds of smoke. You can barely see what's happening, but it looks like Daigo Saito's right up against Yokoi's door. The amount of smoke these guys are pouring out. Look at the angle from both these guys. There's a shot right there. Daigo Saito, you can see him pulling the handbrake to maintain his angle. His angle not quite as impressive through the first and second corners as Masashi Yokoi, the lead car. Although Daigo is still maintaining a good amount of proximity. But Daigo on the first and second corner, not really doing that well. He threw it in really well in the first corner, but wasn't able to keep the drift going. You could see him really pull the handbrake. It would have slowed him down a lot. That may be a result. Okay, I think we do have a result now. So the winner of the Round 3 2016 D1 Grand Prix Series at Tsukuba Circuit is Daigo Saito is the winner. Yeah, I think Daigo was expecting to go up against Kawabata in the finals again and maybe beat him again. But nevertheless, he is the winner for today's Round 3 battles in the Championship Series. Congratulations to Daigo Saito, also to Masashi Yokoi for second place. So congratulations to Masashi Yokoi, second place in today's battles.